It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Mandy the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
We're back.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Back in the saddle again.
Oh, we're back, and we're very sorry that she just did that.
You'll cut it out.
Oh, hell no. Not even for a little bit. Not without the usual bribe, anyway.
I'll send you my check.
Checks in the mail.
Like I haven't heard that before.
Damn mailman.
Uh-huh.
Well, welcome to November. And, hey, welcome back to another hour of sleep, which none of us really got.
Oh.
Usually, yeah.
Dogs don't know time change.
Everybody else got an advantage, but not us, because we have sleep issues.
Sleep issues or pets, or both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
Woo.
So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, dang.
Oh, shit. 2 weeks off is always a killer.
Well, I've been watching a lot of TV, mainly because I'm still like coloring and stuff. But I'm trying to think what all I watched.
That impressive, huh?
Right. Well, I did watch some more Rings of Power.
Yay.
Yeah, we've got like 2 episodes left. So I guess we're at the finale because they usually spread it out over 2. So I'm still holding my judgment on that one. But some of the things that was brought up made me go back to the movies again. And I was in luck because HBO, it seems like every other week they run a marathon of all 3 of the movies. So I
It's a
did
great
that.
time killer.
Right. Well, and part of it, I think it's the second one where Merry and Pippin are carried around by the Ents. And it's like, that would be a really freaking cool picture. I wonder if anybody has any of those online. So, of course, I looked and I found a couple that I could do and everything else. And so I'm sitting there watching that, and I'm coloring my little tree dude. And Leanne comes along and she says, "Who's the tree dude?" And I said, "Well, they're Ents." And I kind of explained who they are. And, I said, "Yeah, and they can even carry hobbits around." And she says, "Hobbits? Are those like rats?" Like, holy Jesus.
Well,
kind of. They're hairy. I just thought that was so funny. Are those like rats? Well, I'm sure the Ents thought so.
Damn.
from a certain point of view, yes.
Yeah. But I really wanted to watch that scene again because in Rings of Power, they don't seem too nice. So it was kind of like, I know they weren't happy to run across Merry and Pippin. And it took some convincing to get them involved and everything else. But it's kind of like seeing how some of this stuff is playing out in Rings of Power. It was like, if this stuff had happened, I don't think it would have taken that much to get them involved, but yeah. It's like I said, it's little things that make me go back and go, or I wonder what happened to Merry and Pippin after the fact, which that's been kind of interesting. I've been looking around on different people who have been talking about, what happened after the fellowship. And that's been kind of interesting. Some of it's kind of sad, but, some of it's pretty interesting too. Um, I know I watched a bunch of Halloween stuff. Um, this year was kind of cool because some places had played some stuff that hasn't really been played around Halloween time. 'Cause it's like once the season busts out, everybody's like, "Ooh, let's put on Halloween or let's put on Friday the 13th." So it was kind of cool to see some different movies that, I mean, of course I watched those too, but it was kind of different to have a variety this year than what we normally have, especially AMC and FX, like really pumped it out this year. So bravo. I liked it.
Oh, Bravo did too?
I don't know. They might have. But then also, was it TMC? No, I don't think it was TMC, but there was one channel that I was watching that it went from one movie right into Frankenstein, the old one. And, that was pretty cool because you don't catch that on TV very often. So, of course, I had to watch that one. And then after Halloween, they're really like laying on the superheroes on those channels. So it's kind of like, well, what do we do now? We had a month of villains. So now let's do the superheroes.
Now we got to have a palate cleanser, apparently.
Right. But I tried to watch, what was it? I think it was Thor, but I had to give up. I just really had to give up on that one. It wasn't that it wasn't interesting. There was just, I didn't understand it. I guess I missed something and didn't really understand what the hell was going on. So then the baby told me that Thor made her sad.
Wow.
Right. I'm thinking, how do you look at Thor and get sad? But hey, okay. I think we watched Despicable Me 4 afterwards. But that's cute too. If you guys haven't seen that one, if you're a fan of Minions and that kind of thing, maybe it was the company I watched it with. But that was really cute. Kind of gave Gru a chance to shine because I think in some of those the Minions steal the spotlights, and the fourth one is totally him, about him. So that was kind of cool too. But other than that, like I said, just whatever's been on TV, I've been watching. Just kind of hiding under my rock till next week. Staying away from regular broadcasting TV.
See, Thor would make more sense if everybody spoke Shakespearean English,
Yeah. Well, I didn't understand the whole Natalie Portman thing. I guess I didn't see how that stuff got inside of her. And so it was kind of like, wait, what? Why does everybody want to kill Thor? Because he's trying to save his girlfriend, So I think I missed part of that. Yeah, and I guess I haven't seen the one after that because I don't remember Loki taking the throne over. And I thought I had seen all of the Thors, but maybe not. So I don't think I've seen this one.
Yeah, there's 4 of them.
Yeah.
There's Thor, there's Dark World, and then Ragnarok, and then now Love and Thunder. That's when Jane becomes Thor.
I don't think I watched that one.
I haven't seen it either. I've only seen bits and pieces of Ragnarok.
Ragnarok was with the Hulk, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's Ragnarok and Planet Hulk basically merged together.
Yeah. So maybe this was the one before that then. So like I said, Natalie Portman had some kind of element inside of her that the bad guys needed. And
yeah, Dark World's kind of Yeah.
And then half the time you didn't know, am I looking at this person or is this just Loki again? I mean, I hate that. I really hate that. I should give him like a tattoo on his ear or something so at least we're clued in on what the fuck.
That would miss the point.
Yeah. Especially like the ending of that one. I mean, spoiler alert, when he thought he was talking to his dad and then he walked out and it was Loki and it was like, wait a minute, I just watched Loki die. What the fuck? What? So yeah, definitely missed a lot of that. So I, it's kind of one of those that I don't think I want to go back and rewatch it to figure out what I missed. It
I
was.
seem to recall that one wasn't well received anyway,
Yeah.
just generally.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you had two different stories going on, and both were confusing. You had one going on Earth, and the other one going on planet Thor, and it was just kind of what was it, Asgard or whatever. It was kind of weird. Like I said, I didn't care for that one. And normally I like the Marvel superhero. Well, I won't go as far as to say that. I like most of the Marvel superhero movies. And then from that one, they launched into Ant-Man. And that's when I was like, no. I don't have the patience for this one today.
Not today.
Yeah. But I'm kind of sad that there's not a lot of horror movies on TV anymore because like I said that was pretty fun. Every night was something different, and I was actually using my cable service. And of course, Bill, can't you watch this on streaming? Yes, but it's different.
Yeah, you can pause streaming to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, most of the time when I'm watching this stuff, I'm setting their coloring, so I don't really care about commercials. And commercials kind of give me that break time that I need if I need to get up or do something or, move around or so it actually wasn't that bad.
So your excuses for not trying Tubi are dwindling here. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, if I'm coloring,
yeah.
yeah, if
If
I
you're coloring, that's
really
fine.
want to watch
So
something,
color.
then no. And didn't you? I think it was your news story that said that Over the Garden Wall was doing a short. I didn't see it. I've been looking for it, and Cartoon Network. I've been watching a lot of Cartoon Network. Um, they played the whole series, from start to end, and it was like, it would have been nice if they would have thrown that in there because I think you said it was a short, not like a full episode or anything. So it's like, why didn't they do that? But I can't find it. I need to look a little harder for it. But yeah, I'm wanting to see that because that was such a strange little story. It was really strange. And at some point when you're watching it, it's like, I bet these kids are dead. And this is like a dream because it's kind of dark in some in some of the story. And I think I was half right. One of them was sick or something like that. So, but yeah, it was kind of strange. But I'm wanting to see the short. So if you guys happen to know where that is,
What was this again?
Over the Garden Wall.
Two little lovebirds cuckoo to you.
Like I said, if I remember right, I think it's supposed to be not like cartoon,
Thank
but
you, Mike.
CGI.
It's a deep cut,
I
really.
think.
Yeah, I've never seen anything. I've never seen Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah.
And for those who are trying to figure out why Mike was laughing, that's a Genesis reference. Song I Know It, I Like in Your Wardrobe. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Over in the garden wall, two little
Yeah.
lovebirds cuckoo to you. Keep them lone blades sharp.
Hmm.
It's an obscure line from a 50-year-old song. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not one that got a ton of airplay in the U.S. either, so
True.
I got it, though.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I mainly meant that for you
I
anyways.
figured, yeah.
And the reason I couldn't find that is because it just came out yesterday
Well, there
for
you
the
go.
10th anniversary. So,
There you go. Glad you found it.
yeah. I haven't found it yet. It's
Well,
just,
you
yeah.
know why you haven't. You now have a better lead on where to look for it.
Yeah. Oh, it's on YouTube.
Mm.
YouTube has lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it seems like people launch things over there and bigger places pick it up. So it seems to be a starting point for some good animation here lately.
Right.
Baby's been now my kid wouldn't have watched this, so just so you guys know, but the baby's been all into the Amazing Digital Circus, which is by the same people who made that show I was telling you guys about called Murder Drones. And
Mhm.
I absolutely loved it. At the time when I had seen Amazing Digital Circus, they only had an episode out. And it was, the pilot. It was good. I liked it, not as much as I liked Murder Drones, but I liked it. But then I started seeing these characters like pop up everywhere, like all of her games, all of her little YouTube videos that are in them and everything else. And it was like, they have a episode. How are they this popular? And they only have a episode. I think now on YouTube they have 3, but Netflix stepped in and picked them up, and now they'll start playing, doing episodes for Netflix.
Oh, well, there you go. Good for
Yep.
them.
Yep. Big step up for them. Yep. Bugs over there talking.
Oh.
And then, what was the other one that got picked up from from YouTube? DC Supergirls. When they first released that one, it was completely just YouTube. You could only watch it there. And then once they saw the popularity it was gaining over there, they put it on Cartoon Network as their little 2-minute episodes in between cartoons to kind of fill that gap in.
Mhm.
And it became so popular on Cartoon Network that way that they started making full episodes of it. So, which is nice because usually you only hear YouTube launching singers. So it's actually nice to see some good animation come from YouTube too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nope, that's what I got. Like I said, just a lot of TV, a lot of classics. Still healing up, so
Healing up is good.
yeah, it's getting better. I'm starting to feel my lip again. That's good.
Oh, yay. That's a plus.
Well, it got felt cold, like super cold. Like if you take a drink and you put your straw on your lip, like that kind of cold. And he's like, "Oh, that's completely normal." And it's like, no, it's not.
I beg to differ.
Trust me.
Normal is definitely not what that is.
Right. Normal doesn't feel like I've got a piece of cotton shoved in my cheek,
Kind of sounded that way too, honestly.
Yeah. I know those first couple of weeks was pretty bad. Whew. I'm getting there.
Right. That's good.
Yep. And now he's like, "Oh, you need to come back." No. Give me a minute, dude.
Right.
Stalker.
Don't want to. No kidding. Yeah, well, you're going to have to relearn how to chew sometime.
Yeah. I want to be able to eat good,
Mm-hmm. Can't live on Slurpees alone.
And mashed potato.
Mm-hmm.
Slurpee and mashed potatoes.
Mashed potato flavored Slurpee.
Yep. Although we have the perfect season coming up for that kind of food, so.
I mean, yeah. As much as I want to argue with that, I can't.
Yep. Think about it, like 90% of Thanksgiving food is mush.
Maybe in your house.
Oh. Ouch. I could cook the food off that bird.
Wow.
But no, I'm kidding. I see where you're coming from. Yeah, you get mashed potatoes and you get the stuffing and you get
Sweet potatoes that are usually blended.
and pie. So much pie.
Green beans floating in soup.
Yeah.
Bug didn't like that either.
Don't blame her.
Why did you do that?
Yep.
All right, Bug, hang on.
Bug wants her say too. What'd you do this week, Bug?
She's like, you're talking about food.
Right.
Food, glorious food.
She's my fat girl.
Damn. Okay.
100-pound dog. She's my fat girl. Yep. See, she agreed.
Ouch.
Oh.
Psychological damage to the dog. Anyway.
Yep.
All right. Well, then in that case, given 2 weeks, I watched a movie because, I'm slow. That and I needed a little bit of a break from movies after the horror month push. And the movie I watched is actually fairly short, so that was kind of ironic. I didn't really plan it that way, but the movie I watched is called Condemned to Live. It is from 1935, and it's interesting on a few different levels. For one, for 1935, it takes an interesting take on a vampire story. The main character is like this. He's the guy. He's in a small town in Europe. They're really vague about where they are, because it's not important. And he's like the guy that everybody likes. They call him Professor, because I think he did go to like university and stuff, and he came back to town instead of like pursuing an academic career or whatever. And so he's like kind of the guy who knows stuff. He's the guy they all come to with their problems and with their questions and stuff, because it's that kind of town. Morons.
Skipper.
But so yeah, and he's this really nice guy, and he's like in his 40s or something, and we quickly learn that he's engaged to marry this young blonde chick, and it's pretty obvious that she doesn't really love him, she respects him, and boy howdy do they pound on that. This is only like an hour-long movie, and their relationship is weird, especially since she has a guy who would marry her in a heartbeat. But all of this kind of gets put to the side when people start getting attacked and killed in town. And the deal is they're getting bit on the neck, and they get taken from their homes and usually dumped in the caves behind, like over on the other side of town, sort of thing. And they kind of, they're like, okay, so everybody starts thinking bat right off the bat. I almost said right pretty quickly because of the bites on the neck and all that stuff, and it looks like bat. And I mean, they actually don't use the word vampire very often in the movie, but that's very much the implication. And so then the professor, his mentor back at the university shows up in town, and the professor's like, "Oh man, we're just completely stumped about all of this." But then the professor starts thinking, "Well, wait a minute. I've been having these like headaches, and I've been like passing out, and I don't remember what I've done for like an hour or whatever, and this has happened a few times now." And so, come to find out, the mentor is like, "Yeah, okay, so here's the thing I never really told you. Your parents." Funny story. The explanation explains the opening scene of the movie, which is basically a flashback, because his mother, 40 years previous, his parents were explorers, and they were in Africa because that's where explorers go. And apparently, just before his mother gave birth to him, the professor, she was bitten by a bat. And so, long story short, the professor is essentially turning into a kind of werewolf-like vampire, because it's like a full moon thing, and yeah.
Huh.
So it's actually kind of, like I said, it's an interesting take on a vampire story, especially from 1935.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
somebody's trying to come up with something original here, given the success of Dracula.
Sounds pretty cool.
It does.
Yeah, it's a fun little movie. And one last piece of trivia: it is directed by Frank Strayer. If you're not familiar with that name, which there's a real good chance that nobody is, he's best known for directing about half of the Blondie movies. So,
God, I hadn't watched any of those in forever.
So he directed like 14 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, there were about 28. But that's kind of what his claim to fame was.
Yeah.
That was obviously after this, but this is actually a pretty early movie for him.
Yeah, I used to watch those movies. Some channel 2-3 decades ago was showed them. I don't know if it was every afternoon or like every Saturday afternoon, something like that. And I used to watch those. Those were fun.
Interesting. I've never seen one of them. So.
Yeah, but it's God. I had not seen them in forever. I don't even know if anybody carries them. They got to be there somewhere. Someone's got to have them.
You'd think, but who knows?
Yeah.
They might not be active or available at the moment.
Right. Yeah.
Hard to say. I have to study it up.
Yep. I'll have to look at it. I'm going to have to look into it now. It's now one. God, every time we get on here, somebody mentions something that's like, oh, God, I want to watch that.
Mm-hmm. We do have a tendency to do that to each other, don't we?
So, cool. And this is on Tubi?
This was on Tubi, yes.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Anything else?
No. Just if it makes you feel any better, Liz, I'm about where you are on Rings of Power, so.
Dun-dun-dun.
A couple more episodes.
I have a question about the ending of the last one, so. Or the last one we watched.
Right.
I didn't get it. Did you see the whole Clash of the Titans thing?
What do you mean?
And was it Nemor? Nemor? Numenor? Numenor.
Oh, the monster thing, yeah. The trial by ocean or whatever the hell they called it.
Yeah. So she's queen again?
I don't think so.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Although it was kind of funny, they just kind of bleh up on the water. Here you go. You
They
can
did
take her
cut
back.
that. They did cut that at a point where it was intended to leave you thinking that, but I don't think it's going to work out that way.
Oh, okay. It's like, man, they did all of that. I just don't get the whole thing. Oh, here's an eagle. He's king. Oh, fish spit her out. She's queen. I just,
Well,
I've been trying to follow it. It's like, did the bird or the fish do it? Well, and I know the eagles play a big importance in the movies and the books later, too. So I kind of understood that one.
Eagles are mysterious and distant things, and it's never simple with eagles, but yeah, that was an interpretation thing.
Yeah.
That was that whole thing when went with the whole crowning. That was Farazan seizing the moment.
Okay.
Big time. Taking advantage of the fact that Muriel is definitely not. I mean, the blindness is big. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big factor, and she's also still very upset by it and went through some shit. I mean, she was probably neck deep in PTSD at that point.
Right.
And so her ability to cope with what was going on in that scene it was a rough moment for her. And Farazan was ready to seize the opportunity.
And I thought she was the one who had called the eagle there to begin with. So it was kind of like it was there for her.
No, the eagle thing, they had mentioned before that it was, I mean, sometimes an eagle shows up when they do this.
Yeah.
And it's usually meant to reinforce what's happening, but Farazan's, like I said, seized the opportunity. He had Muriel back on her heels already, and when the eagle showed up, he just walked over and basically claimed the moment. Whether he should have or deserved to or not, because she couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
She couldn't stop it. But that also is kind of my interpretation. So.
Well, in the original lore, though, is he the king that winds up getting that city destroyed?
Well, that's kind of a giveaway now, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, isn't that in the books?
Yes. And yes, he is the last king of Numenor.
Okay. So that should probably be happening soon then, right?
Given the way they're rushing other things, I'm not sure how they're going to play that out.
Okay.
I don't know, other things seem to be moving really fast too, but they actually seem to be taking their time with the Numenor thing. I'm thinking that may not wrap up this season. But I haven't watched the last 2 episodes either. But it seems like they're going to probably be more focused on Eregion and on Celebrimbor.
I think that's where it'll end too.
That's
for
where
the season.
Seems like the season is going. Maybe we get Numenor in season 3. I don't know.
And talk about Loki shit. That was kind of cool how he did that. Walks out and there's birds and rainbows and kids playing. He's like, oh, this is fine. Everything's fine. And he goes back inside. There's like catapults
and then
people running and screaming.
He drops the illusion and, oh, man, it's bad. Right.
Yeah. Like, wow.
That was fun.
But it kind of lets you glimpse into how powerful he really is.
Right.
Because all he did was whisper to make all that happen.
Yep.
Yep. Which I've been waiting for them to kind of be like, why is he the big bad?
Right. What's he doing? Why doesn't he just have armies on top of armies somewhere? Well,
I think we're about to see that.
But he doesn't necessarily always need that, is the deal.
Yeah. But I think we're about to see him get his orcs back.
Could be.
So pretty interesting.
They're gonna have to. It's be interesting to see how the whole Adar thing works out. I think that's going to be the key. Adar is the
Yeah.
key to all of that, to that connection, how that works out. And in all honesty, Adar is a completely invented character for this. As far as I know,
Huh.
Adar did not exist in the books, in any of Tolkien's stuff. They made him
Yeah.
up for this. So that's why it'll be interesting to see, is because I don't know.
Hmm. And every time they show Isildur, though, I'm like, you fucking traitors. I know what's coming. You're all great right now, aren't you?
They're doing an interesting job of setting him up.
Yeah.
He's probably a more interesting character than he could have been if they took your attitude about him. But
Yeah.
he could just be a shitheel and nobody would care. But they're making people care, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, which would once again kind of shows you a glimpse of how powerful these rings are going to be
Hmm.
to change someone like him.
Yep. Yeah, that's the deal. Is they're setting him up to be a really good guy and a good potential king. And yeah, the ring is going to fuck him up.
Yeah. And that kid.
Oh God, don't get me started on the kid.
Was it Theo or whatever?
Theo.
It's like, oh my God.
Theo is just a shithead.
Well, he's kind of like what you would think Isildur was, right? Kind of a,
He's what Isildur could have been, for sure.
yeah.
He's what if Isildur had never been. I mean, if Isildur had never left Numenor, then he could have been the Theo version. He could have been like Farazan's little shithead.
Yeah.
Who I could drown that guy in a bucket of water any minute. It would be fine. I wouldn't feel a thing. But anyway, that's me going way off on a wild tangent, and we've already lost Tom and Les, so.
Sorry. I said some of it, that's what's drawn me back to, like, the movies and YouTube videos and stuff, because it's like, wait a minute,
Well, and the deal is in the movies.
If this is happening, how does this happen later?
Yeah, in the movies, you're only going to get glimpses.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to go deeper into the lore, which there's plenty of stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's there's one guy I found who's pretty. He kind of reminds me of you because he's like, well, I'm not going to say it's bad because it's a good story outside of this,
Right.
Would Tolkien have stamped off on this? No.
Not in a million years, but Tolkien rejected a movie when he was alive.
Yep.
I mean, it was suggested, and he was like, no.
Yeah.
So.
And then I try to stay away from them who are like, oh, this is just shit. It's like, well, tell me why. Why don't you?
That's the deal. Is most of the people who are just saying, oh, it's just crap, they're either not watching it or they're not, or they don't really have a reason why other than they don't like it. And
yeah.
Okay. A lot of people don't like things. So what?
Yeah.
Give me something critical about it. But yeah.
I told B we definitely have to watch the next 2 episodes together because you can tell the way they ended the last one. Things are about to explode, literally.
I mean, there's literally an army on the doorstep. I mean,
yep.
And it's already catapulting at the walls. Yeah, and it's
yep.
Yeah. So it could be fun.
Should be interesting. Yep.
Bless.
And isn't Celebrion, isn't he like one of the few people who have actually physically fought with Sauron?
Who? Which one? What?
The crafter Celebrion, the guy who's making the rings.
Celebrimbor?
Yeah. Isn't he one of the few people who's actually one-on-one with Sauron?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Not that I remember.
Okay.
I mean, he's been there. He's been part of the deal. He's been part of basically what's essentially the kingdom of the elves for centuries, if not millennia. But
yeah,
he's more of a background guy.
Cool.
There's a reason why he doesn't have a ring. We'll put it that way. I mean, he's kind of the guy in charge of Eregion in the city that he's in, but that's minor. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
a major city. It's not like a big military installation or something. It's
Didn't
just,
seem like a big city.
yeah, mostly artisans and stuff there.
To do his work, enough people to keep it going.
Yeah.
Okay. Les?
My question to you is, was it a careless whisper?
Oh man. Wow.
Well, if we're going to go real bonehead questions and shit, here you go. For me, I was delving into the YouTube to track down people discovering bands from the 60s and 70s. It's really interesting to see the reaction. Some of them are going, wow, how come we don't hear of these guys now? So it was fun to take in. For Halloween, I sat down and watched my favorite Halloween movie and thoroughly enjoyed it again. I did some reading, which is kind of surprising to me right now. But that's been interesting. So I don't have much to say, but that's about all I've got.
And what was the favorite Halloween movie again?
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh, right.
That is a good one.
Tally ho!
Charge!
Cool. For me, yeah, I spent a lot of time on YouTube. Also checked out Agatha All Along.
Oh.
And oh my God. Such a well-written, well-performed, such a great-looking show. I highly recommend this thing. And it seems like it's done real well in terms of viewership. So we may get another season of this. Well, who knows? I know the focus right now is the trying to wrap up the multiverse stuff. So who knows when if they do that, if that's the route they'll go. But for a show that a lot of people like, we're going. Yeah, we like Agatha, we like Catherine Hahn, but really, the series focusing on her, it's worth it. It really is. I've seen a lot of praise for this series. It's funny because I've watched a lot of the reaction videos too, because I like to catch or have things point out that I may not have caught and all that. But it's amazing how each week it's that some of them are going, this is the best episode, and then next week it's, this is the best episode. It's like it gets better. So I highly recommend it.
I liked her in WandaVision, so I'm kind of glad they did this.
Yeah, you'll love her in this. I know there's a lot of complaints about the use of humor in the MCU. It starts off with quite a bit of humor, but as you get deeper into the story, the tone definitely changes. You still have her being a smart ass a lot, but that she's so great at it, but you have to. So, yes, definitely check it out.
Cool.
Neat.
How much do you need to watch prior to that?
Well, I'll be honest, I hadn't watched WandaVision or Multiverse of Madness. So there's a little bit of that I didn't know that I had to go back and research, but for the most part, you don't have to. Most of it's explained or it's separate.
Okay.
It's cool.
That was holding me up. Not knowing how much I had to backtrack.
Well, I mean, if you know the situation with Scarlet Witch and all that, then you're probably okay. Because I mean, she's mentioned a lot, but I mean, it is Agatha's story. So. And I'm still watching a lot of the body cam videos. The thing that's been really popping out at me is these AI narrators or whatever, hosts or whatever you want to call them. It's funny how some of the stuff, how the AI chooses to read some of the words,
some of the scripted stuff.
Scripted stuff, yes. Because there's been a couple of times. There was one time I know it said the word lead, and it was supposed to be lead. I've seen a lot. I've heard a lot of oomphs for miles per hour. They go oomphs. Car going 120 oomphs. If someone's calling the police and all that, they call 911. It's funny, some of that stuff just kind of pops out. It's like, okay.
Right, the kind of thing that a human reader would never do.
Right. Yeah.
But the other thing a human reader will do is cash a paycheck, so you get you kind of get what you get on that one.
Yep. You get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, why don't we go take a quick break and then we'll get into this week's discussion. Welcome back. Let's get into this week's discussion. I saw some discussion here. I don't know. It's been a couple of months back, and it was in regards to the film Blazing Saddles, which is a film we always make some reference to almost on a weekly basis.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But there were some discussions on whether or not a film like that would be made today, and it seemed like for the most part, the responses was no, it wouldn't be made today because there would be people offended. And I'm kind of on the fence. I understand where they're coming from, but I also saw what the writers were trying to do as well. So I don't know, kind of torn. So I figured with that we would maybe come up with a movie or so that we think would not be made in today. So and kind of discuss that a little bit. So And we can discuss a little bit of Blazing Saddles if you want to about that as well, if y'all want to. So.
Well, I kind of cheated.
Okay.
I actually talked to a few different people because I. This is gonna sound horrible. I'm not a horrible person, but
But right.
most of the time, what most people find offensive, I don't, because I can laugh at it, uh, you know. So sometimes the offensive part goes over my head because I'm too busy laughing at it to find it offensive. But yeah. Um, but before I started talking to other people, my mind automatically went to the 80s, particularly John Hughes. I think people would have a problem with a lot of his movies nowadays because there was usually a common theme, or there was usually one common theme in the movie where they get the girl drunk and they take advantage of her. And it's usually like a comedy relief at that point, which, like I said, in the 80s, we laughed at it and everything else. And I still enjoy movies like 16 Candles and Weird Science, where we have an adult traipsing around with teenagers from high school. There are quite a few things that now people would be like, and it was like, well, that was just, it wasn't meant to be serious or a role model. It was just meant to be funny. So,
Right. If anything, a lot of that stuff is making fun of a time when that actually was a real thing.
right.
But anyway.
But yeah, it seemed to be a common trend in some of his movies, though.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. And he's been criticized lately for it.
yeah.
Which is
And
completely meaningless because he died years ago.
yeah. And I absolutely love 16 Candles. I mean, my idol was Lucille Ball, so I've always had a thing for redheads. And when Molly Ringwald came along and she was funny and she could act, I kind of leaned towards her in the 80s. And she did a lot of good movies too. But I think with 16 Candles in particular, they kind of leaned into some heavy stereotypes too that would not be acceptable today, especially Donger. Um, they would have completely left him out. Um, I think as far as that kind of thing that those films fall into, Revenge of the Nerds can fall into the same thing. He slept with a girl who she didn't know who he was, and you know, I don't think that's as accepted today. Although it worked out very well for him.
May not be as accepted, but it still friggin' happens.
Yeah, it does.
We're just
But
hiding
not
it better
necessarily, guy doesn't always end up with the girl after that either, though.
True enough.
And then you have movies that were as simple and childlike as Big, where once again you've put a child in a relationship with a grown woman. That was kind of weird. Even as a kid, for me, that was kind of weird. Because it's like, isn't he like 12?
Yeah, and the consolation there is that she doesn't know that.
Well,
Not
but
until
even
after.
when she did find out, she's like, how old are you? Well, I figure I would wait for you. Well, that's called grooming, honey. You can't do that. So, but no, she didn't know that in the mind of the viewer, you're still watching, he may have had a 30-year-old body, but he was 12,
Well, and that's a fun example because it's not the only movie of that type.
Yeah.
There are other movies like that. Jennifer Garner did a gender swap version of it later.
Yeah.
I believe it's called 13 Going on 30.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
How that's better, I don't know, but whatever.
But yeah, I think the 80s we had a different kind of humor. It's not that we didn't know those things were wrong. We just didn't take it serious in entertainment, you know?
Well, if you think about it, I mean, let's take sex comedies as an example. And in the 80s, and I mean, even as early as the late 70s, I mean, one of the major common themes of these sex comedies is that they weren't based in the modern day. They were all set in the past. They were all set 20, 30 years beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be thinking of a different movie. But Porky's
That was the 50s.
was set in
Yep.
the 50s.
Yep.
That's on my list too.
I mean, even something like Animal House was set 10, 15 years beforehand.
Yeah, early 60s.
Yeah.
Something like
That was a common thing for those types of raunchy comedies to not be set in the, because clearly, I mean, this is the 80s. People don't act like that anymore. We're all prim and proper and uptight.
In our neon.
Which was complete bullshit, because these movies were selling like mad.
Yeah.
Everybody was going to see these movies. Were they taking the whole family? No, not really, but they were still making a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of all of this is a healthy dose of self-delusion to start with.
Yep.
Yeah, which is why I mean, maybe I'm an asshole, but part of my brain immediately goes to reject the premise on the whole topic, because at this point, I don't think, I mean, if you want to think of it in terms of, would a major studio release a movie like Blazing Saddles today? The answer is almost certainly no.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to release a movie some other way these days.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like we
so
was talking
the movies
about
can get
YouTube.
made. The movies can get made, even if they're horrible. Even if they're complete. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, my whole, because my brain went to exploitation with this. I mean, the deal. My thing was, well, what? I mean, what's the most terrible thing we can think of from 50 years ago? And a lot of it is exploitation movies.
Yeah.
And I started looking at it. I'm like, no, people are making them today still.
Yeah.
And honestly, some of them, I mean, friggin' Quentin Tarantino has made a career of exploitation movies. And he's still making them. And they're still selling. What's the difference? Why is it he can get away with that and so many other people can't?
Well, some. I mean, you still have big names release movies that offend people. And what was the one that he did? The Django. People were very upset with that one, and it didn't do very well.
It didn't?
I don't know. Unless they were rage watching. Let's see.
That's also a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
People hate watching things. People
Yeah.
paying money to hate something, that's a new, well, I say it's a new phenomenon. It recently got named, so sort of, but I suspect it's been going on for a long time. I mean, you don't get people marching outside of a movie like Dogma, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Jesus Christ Superstar. That was another Pickett movie.
which is mind blowing, because anyway.
Yeah. Well, when we went to go see Passion of the Christ at the movie theaters,
There were protests, yeah.
there were protests. Somebody had spray painted a Jewish star on the side of the building and everything else. It's like, this is fucked up.
Right.
It's
But
totally
talk about
fucked up.
people just not getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, just I don't. How do you even react to that?
Well, I mean,
I don't get it. What?
I've
I
always
saw that
been
movie.
taught you meet hate with love. They're gonna hate you because you they can't piss you off kind of thing, and it would be easy to give in and be mad and retaliate. But like you said, they missed the whole point.
Oh, no, you're
If you
right.
went and
It's not.
watched the movie, it's not, you know,
I'm not angry with them. I'm sad for them
that's
because
what I was going to
they
say. It's
clearly
sad.
don't understand the world around them and how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
Well, and I've just never understood that, especially the type of person I am. I try not to push my views off on anybody, but if what's the problem? If people think that I believe in a make believe sky daddy, why is that their problem? If why is that their problem? Why does that offend them so much? That if I'm crazy and I die and there's nothing, then hey, that's all on me.
right.
They're
What have
not
you
going to pay
lost?
for that.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't understand any religion how
I
difference does it make. As long as you're not killing people in the name of your religion, you do you, boo.
well, and the deal, and I mean, this is we're going way down the rabbit hole here, but I mean, a lot of that is the deal is that the reaction. I don't mean this to sound. I actually don't mean this to sound sarcastic, but it's not you. You're not what they're
Yeah.
reacting to. They're
Yeah.
reacting to everybody else in their lives who have attempted to beat Jesus down their throats.
Yeah.
And something obviously they had a major disconnect with Christianity at some point in their lives. And okay, pretty much
And that's
a lot of
fine.
people do that.
Yeah.
But the deal is that a lot of Christians can't let that go. I mean, especially in this part of the world.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, contrary to popular belief, this is a very Christian country. And it's Christian or nothing in a lot of communities and in a
Yeah.
lot of parts of this society. And so people just pound on them and pound on them and pound on them. So they're not reacting to you specifically. They're reacting to
The whole thing.
what in that moment you represent because you said what you said to make them uncomfortable.
Right. But if they would talk to me for 2 seconds, they'd realize that those kind of people make me cringe too.
Sure, absolutely.
You know.
But their gut reaction is not to do that. Their gut reaction is to disconnect.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it's not about you, Liz.
Mm.
I say it
Yeah, but
sarcastically now, but
when it happens to you, you do
sure.
tend to take it personal.
Absolutely. And because they're
So,
basically lashing out at you when they're doing that. I
yeah.
get it. I'm with you. But yeah, the deal is it's not necessarily intended to be personal.
Yeah.
It's a major reaction to a cultural sticking point,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
People have made that way.
Yeah.
And people also need to understand that I'm not going to read something on the internet and go, oh my God, you know what? You are so right. You have totally changed my mind, and I'm going to change the whole last 45 years of the way I believe. It's going to take more than a stick it to you kind of
Takes a
comment.
whole lot more indoctrination than that. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think this is going to be easy.
I've had
Jeez.
40 years of it pounded
Right.
into my head.
You're going to have to
What am I
pound for
supposed
another 40. I mean, come on.
I had a drug problem. My parents drugged me to church. They drugged me to
Wow.
Oh, it's good that we can laugh about it now.
yeah. But
About your
to
drug
bring us
problem.
back to, topic, I don't think a movie like that would be made today.
My deal is I don't think a major studio would make it.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Just from the reaction that
yeah,
it got.
because
they
yeah,
missed it.
it's too big a risk
Yeah.
because the loonies might actually convince people not to spend the money to go see it, and that would be a big risk, and they won't
Well,
do
and
that.
if you had things like this happening then, what would happen nowadays when people are actually getting a lot more bolder with their hate,
Well, right. So yeah, it's even an even bigger risk today
Mm-hmm.
for that reason because I mean to some people, I mean if person A is not going to be persuaded by a picket line to not go see movie B, are they going to be persuaded by crazies actually beating the hell out of people outside of movie theaters?
Yeah.
Which
Which
could
I
happen. I'm not
would.
saying it
Yeah.
has happened, but it could
Yeah.
happen.
It could happen. You never know. In the climate that we live in the last 10 years, anything could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. But I do think that some of the movies that we make today, we're a little bit more aware that you can't use certain, I don't know how to say this without being offensive, especially the whole gay thing. I think they totally distance themselves. Movies like Sleepaway Camp would not be made today. You know, we've come to a different mindset about gay people. So I think movies where that was made fun of or made as a shock value
It's a hell of a
would
twist, right?
would definitely not be made today. You know, it's not shocking for someone to be gay.
Right.
It's
not
not
it's
weird.
just not as big a deal
Yeah,
as it
they're
once
not a
was.
monster.
Sure.
You know,
Well, I mean, whether they're monsters or not is still
right?
debatable by some, but
But not because their sexual orientation,
right. Well, okay.
which Sleepaway Camp made. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different. Yeah, that movie would be made the story would be much different now, and it would not be made because it would be dramatically more extreme now, which
Yeah.
I'm still not putting past people. I mean, there have been a whole lot of movies that probably should never have been made that are
Right.
coming out. They're making sequels of the damn things now. So
Well,
looking
I'm
at you,
surprised.
Human Centipede.
Right. And I'm surprised that things like the Winnie the Pooh movie that got made, that was
mean,
weird. They're talking about doing Mickey Mouse the same way, and I mean, that's weird. I never thought that would be made, but
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, you that's the kind of thing that back in the day you'd expect somebody would like jokingly make a trailer about it, but not a whole movie.
yeah,
But they made the whole friggin' movie.
yeah.
I mean, is it that easy to make movies these days? Shit.
You
I
just
don't
got to
know.
get the right ones looking at you.
Apparently. Yeesh. Okay, we need to let somebody else talk
Yeah.
here.
Go ahead, Les.
I was looking at first I misread what we were supposed to talk about, and I thought it was movies that should never have been made.
Which, hey, it's not that far off, so.
And
You got a long list of those.
Well, I started off with Out of Africa, but
That's like based on somebody's life, man.
Was that the one where they're trying to airlift the elephant?
No.
Oh,
I think that's Operation Dumbo Drop or something like that.
okay. I don't think I've seen that one then.
But
Sorry.
I was thinking movies like Mondokani would never be made now because people are too susceptible of what they see. That's obvious because how many people have stolen vehicles because they saw it in a video game or
a movie or a TV show.
Moves like that.
Or those teens who went on a murder rampage after watching Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say The Exorcist, but they've already made that again.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and again, and again.
True. Or in various shapes, yeah.
Yeah. The whole Divergence series.
Never saw that, thank God.
Oh. You didn't see Annabelle?
Who?
Annabelle? The haunted doll?
Oh, no.
No.
I was also thinking of snuff films, which, yes, they were, or no, they weren't real. But that idea was pretty damn crazy back when it was thought to be. So why would anyone want to watch? Sorry, but why would anyone want to watch people get killed on camera?
Well, and then in the 80s, it hit a whole resurgence with the Faces of Death series.
Well, with
So clearly there's
films,
an audience.
Wasn't snuff films more kind of sexual, though?
Some
like dealing with death and fetishes and stuff?
Some of them were, but...
You know how I found out the meaning to snuff films? I watched Robin Williams, what was it, 8mm?
Uh-huh.
And I called that a snuff film, and my dad was like, don't ever say that again. Do you know what that is? And I'm like, yeah, this movie. And he's like, no, no, that is not what a snuff film is. Preacher guy, don't say that.
Now, Robin Williams did 1 Hour Photo.
That is it, 1 Hour Photo.
Because the other was kids filming like an alien or something.
Yeah, that was J.J. Abrams, right? 8mm?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's one of his early movies.
Yeah, 1 Hour Photo. That creeped me out.
The third thing that I thought people won't make again is beach movies. I really don't believe
Sharknado.
Huh?
Sharknado.
That's not a beach movie.
That's not a beach movie.
Yeah.
That's a beach movie like Die Hard is a
things.
Christmas movie.
Don't go there, Mikey.
I believe it, so I'm with you. Now, do you think they won't, or you just really, really don't want them to? With the beach movies.
I'm kind of with him. I don't think they would do that again. I think that was like a genre for that time period.
But again, the 80s, Baywatch. I mean, it's a serious take on it, but it's kind of the same thing, right?
Maybe if they sing and dance, but...
I mean, David Hasselhoff had a singing career in Germany, right? So how far off are we, really?
Yeah.
I am totally not serious. I mean, he did, but I'm not really making that connection. But I can see where you're coming from with it being. I mean, it's just it's a product of its time for sure.
Well, and it was clean, wholesome fun, and we don't see a lot of that anymore either.
I don't think it exists. I don't believe that it ever existed.
Yeah.
Honestly, but I'm cynical.
So that's about it for me.
Okay.
The people I talked to, the one movie that they all had in common with, which I haven't seen it. I've seen what they're talking about, but I haven't seen the movie. Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr. and blackface. They're like, that would never fly today. And it's
that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I don't think it flew then.
It was heavily criticized for that.
Yeah.
20 years ago when it came out.
Yeah. They're like, no.
So I don't know. I mean, this is why I'm not sure about the whole premise. I think these movies can be made.
No,
I think you just kind of have to know where you're going and know what you're doing with it.
When the society has had a whole discussion on Snow White, I don't think they'd let somebody do blackface. Totally would not let somebody do blackface in a movie again. that would be like a blackball suicide to whoever did it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned blackface, because there's a movie on my list that happened. Now, reading up on the film, because I never saw it, because I was never interested, it dealt with racism, but the lead actor did blackface, and I'm talking about Soul Man.
Yeah.
C. Thomas Howell plays a young man who gets a scholarship to a black college, but he's got to dress up like a black person
To get the scholarship.
To get the scholarship.
Yeah, I don't think that would be done either.
I could see that why that is on your list.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and honestly, today they would just admit the white kid to the black school. And they would, I mean, yeah, I see where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Again,
they did do white chicks.
See, that's another one that I don't think could be made today.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why people halfway accepted that then is because the brothers were so popular at the time and were known for being funny. So you could go in with that mindset of knowing how they were. But if kids today not knowing who the brothers were, that wouldn't fly today either.
the Wayans brothers, by the way.
The Wayans brothers. There you go.
Right.
I was wanting to call them the Damien brothers, but that's one of them. The Damien brothers. But yeah, I don't know if they could do that. I can't think of comedians that could pull that off today.
I think you might argue they didn't pull it off then either, but
Yeah.
I don't think that was a big hit.
Yeah.
Another one that popped into mind, and it's funny. I mean, it's not well. I mean, it's not really a funny movie, but which is kind of a shame considering who's in the film. But I hadn't thought about it being how it could be interpreted. And the movie I'm talking about is The Toy with Jackie Gleason and Richard Pryor.
I think they even made jokes about it. There were some slavery jokes made in that movie.
That's what they're
Right.
a rich white man not a good.
Buys a black man as a toy for his son. Yeah.
It makes him a slave. Yeah.
To a
rich
it's not
young
exactly. I mean, that's not how I would have described that movie. I mean,
Well,
it was
right.
the kid's idea.
Right.
The father was actually very resistant to it, but couldn't say no to his kid ultimately.
But in the 80s when that came out, we understood that. But today they just don't understand that.
Today and honestly in the 80s you would have explained to the kid, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
You can't,
and you
buy
can't
the guy.
people.
You can't buy
Yeah.
people. You could hire a person to be your friend, I guess, but that's also creepy as hell. I mean,
Well, we had a movie on that, wasn't it? The Bodyguard or The Bully or
Can't Buy Me Love.
yeah,
I think you're
The
thinking of
older
My
ones.
Bodyguard was.
My Bodyguard, yeah, where he hires the big kid to take care of him.
Well, right, but you're hiring a bouncer. That's not slavery.
It was his friend, yeah. Well, you were saying you could buy a friend, yeah.
Right. You could pay somebody to play with your kid. I mean, that's a nanny.
And I don't know, he could not leave. So that's kind of a slave.
I mean,
and he spanked the kid. That would never fly today.
Well, okay, that's problematic, yes, but that was just a weird friggin' movie anyway, to be honest.
Yeah. But see, that's where I'm split again because I love Richard Pryor. Everything he did, I mean, it was just funny and
I don't know about
probably
everything he did.
the few things my
His
parents let us watch.
his stand-up was
Raunchy.
amazing,
Yeah.
but I mean, he made some really weird movie choices in his career,
Yeah.
including that one.
But he was always funny in them, no matter how bad the movie was.
He was funny in The Toy, I will give you that. Jackie
Yep.
Gleason played an interesting character in The Toy and was actually pretty funny at times.
Yeah.
The rest of that movie was just weird.
Yeah. It was a weird movie. Trading Places, that's another one I don't think they would try to mess with.
Oh yeah, they would.
I think now is a time when you could get away with that one again.
Yeah, maybe so.
Honestly, I think our world is just weird enough that you could actually do that. I think anti-corporate sentiment is high enough right now that you could pull that off.
Yeah. That was Eddie Murphy, though, wasn't it?
That was Eddie Murphy
Okay.
and Dan Aykroyd
Yeah.
Mhm.
and a briefly topless Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
That was on not too long ago.
And the guy who played the teacher in The Breakfast Club.
Yes.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I feel a little bad about that because he played the asshole so well
Yes.
in his whole career basically.
Yeah.
He was good at it.
And Denholm Elliott as the butler.
As the poor hapless butler.
Mm.
Yup.
Another one I have on my list that's stereotypical as hell. Zorro the Gay Blade.
Yeah.
Yes, another risque movie set in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they tried to do the Lone Ranger, too, and people got upset with how the Indian was portrayed.
That's
So
because
I
the
think,
Indian was portrayed by a white guy,
yeah.
which
He had a
honestly
tan, though.
is not the reason to get upset with that.
Yeah.
But whatever. We're real good at finding the wrong reasons to get pissed off in this country.
Yeah. And it really is hard to tell if people are Indian or not. I'm as white as a ghost, and I'm Indian. So
That's just because you haven't been outside in 4.5 years.
that too, but
I say that I'm in the same boat. I'm the same way. I used to have a tan. It
I
went
was
away.
same shade in high school too.
Yeah, but you needed makeup to achieve it in high school, didn't you?
Well, on my face, just to make it paler, baby powder.
Uh-huh. Says the person who posted the Cure concert on the Discord the other day.
I cried. I will totally admit I cried. I meant to talk about that during pre-show too, but it was like kismet. I knew the album was coming out, and it was like, I need, 16 years since they'd given us anything, I was going to buy it. And when I went to their website, they had a countdown, and it was like, well, what's the countdown for? For the sale? No, it was to that live show where they played all of it live, and it was like, oh my God, I cried. I absolutely cried. Like, oh my God, bust out the clove cigarettes.
Tears of joy.
Yes, it
Clove
was.
cigarettes. Oh God.
We go in full 80s, 90s.
Wow. Just wow.
Yep. It It was amazing. If you guys haven't watched that, if you love their old stuff like I did, not like Fascination Street or Disintegration, we're talking old stuff, you'll love it.
Before they got big, yeah.
Yeah, when they were still not happy yet,
Right. Right.
Yep. Once they got happy is when I kind of went off the gear. Like,
well, missing the point by then.
Friday,
yeah.
I'm not in love.
Come on, get happy.
Yeah. It's like, no.
Yep.
Not on that page with you anymore.
Robert Smith is walking on sunshine.
Yeah.
Well. And don't feel good. Hey.
I know.
Definitely a treat.
Deep lyrics, right? Very poetic.
Yeah, I think most of the time movies today, I think some of the older ones could be remade. We just need to clean up the language a little bit,
Today? No.
Yeah, take out a
Today
couple of
wouldn't worry
minority
about-
groups,
They wouldn't worry about language.
Well, language as in you can't call someone gay meaning stupid, and you can't, there's certain words that we just have deemed
Can't drop the N-word anymore.
right,
That's honestly the only thing, in my opinion, about Blazing Saddles that would have to change would be that you'd have to find your way around that.
Right.
Which would be difficult, because that word is kind of important in that movie, but
it is.
And so that would make it rough. And honestly, I think anybody who wants to try to remake a Mel Brooks movie should be shot. But
good luck.
But yeah, I don't. Yeah, there are differences, but honestly, I don't think that changes as much as some people would think.
Yeah.
I think the movies can still get made. Whether they get released by major studios or not, I mean, how much control do the major studios really have anymore over Hollywood? I think that would be an interesting question to look into, but I don't think they're as important as they used to be. So I don't think it's that big a deal, which means you're back to square one to an extent.
Yeah. Oh, and I did have Airplane on my list too. Speaking of Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks had nothing to do with Airplane, but yeah.
Oh.
No, I think it's valid. It's a valid choice. I think you would have a hard time selling the concept of Airplane today. But I imagine they had a hard time selling it then too.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, we want to remake this disaster movie from 10 or 15 years ago, but we want to make it a comedy. Like a really slapstick comedy. And a pretty raunchy one at that. But hey, this was the late 70s. Raunchy was in.
Raunchy was in, yeah. That's why in the 80s slasher movies, we started killing those raunchy people.
Yeah, it literally was a societal rebound from this sort of thing. Seriously.
It was, yeah. If you did drugs and had sex, you were dead in the 80s.
Dead meat. Yep. And if you were getting away with it, then you probably weren't in the 80s. You were back in the 50s when it was okay to have sex, drugs, and rock and roll, apparently.
Love.
Not sure history classes are really doing their job anymore at that point, but whatever.
Do you want to smoke pot? Have premarital sex?
I still contend that was actually a really good movie. Not really good, but it was a terrible Friday the 13th movie. But it was as just a standalone movie, it was pretty funny.
It was funny as hell.
It was pretty good.
You need to get Les to watch it.
With half the cast of Andromeda in it, but
yeah,
that to me was a selling point. I don't know that you're ever going to get Les to watch Jason X.
Watch which one?
Jason X.
Jason X.
Oh, I've seen Mad Max, I've seen Road Warrior. The early stuff I've seen. The later stuff, even Thunderdome, no, I don't watch that crap.
Yeah. So you haven't seen the new one then, huh?
Oh, hell no.
So he hasn't gotten beyond Thunderdome. So.
He also doesn't
I
need
just had
another
Tina
hero.
Turner blasting
Yeah.
in my head.
Fury Road was pretty good.
Is that the new one?
No,
The one,
Oh.
it's the one before that. It's the one that the new one is a prequel to Fury Road. Furiosa is a prequel.
Futurosa or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Futurama.
Futurama.
Futurama was awesome. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
What, the TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ha, ha, ha. Oh, wait, you were serious.
Good news, everyone.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up and take another break?
No, I think we said it all the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
I just want people to think about it and let us know their ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the ones we've mentioned, maybe watch them with an open mind. You know?
You pretty much have to.
Not everything's
Some of them.
serious, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially Blazing Saddles. Although it's kind of funny that people are like, you know, this shouldn't be made today, but that's the whole reason they made it then.
It is.
You know.
And another tidbit, they got Frankie Lane to do the theme song for it.
Right.
Who was really famous for doing theme songs like that for Westerns.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks did not tell Frankie Lane that it was a comedy because he was afraid that he would say no to doing the song. He straight up did not tell him
Of course he did.
what the movie was about. He just said it's a Western. We need you to sing the song.
Wasn't there also a movie we were talking about not too long ago that the actor who was playing it didn't realize that it was a comedy until they got like really into it? And he was like, wait a minute, you know, I thought this was a serious movie, and I forget which one it was now.
Good Young didn't know Blazing Saddles was a comedy until he was released from it.
Maybe that's what we were talking about.
We
thought it would be like serious, and
we also might have made some sort of reference like that with Peter Graves and Airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of them for sure.
Yeah, I mean.
But that'd be hilarious because, you know, actors go through that whole method acting and they get serious and, you know. And then you wind up on the set of Blazing Saddles. Wake up call.
So, on that note, we are going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for you. Welcome back. It's time for Geek News for you. In this segment, we bring a couple news items to the table for discussion. This week is Les and myself. And Les, would you go first, please, sir?
Thank you, sir. My news comes from New York City.
New York City?
Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. Slowly I
turn.
Step by step. Inch by inch.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. No, what was celebrated there during the Comic-Con in New York was the celebration of Marvel's 85th year. And they had come up with an idea of citizen watches to be available for the Legends anniversary. They also have according to this article, you can click on a tie there that will take you to the site on Citizens to purchase said clockware. Some of them are pretty nice. They are a little bit out of my price range.
I wondered.
But they're very, very pretty watches. So it's kind of interesting. They do have like we'll say a Spider-Man boxed set for just under $1,000. Hulk, Avengers, Thor, Loki, Black Panther, Tony Stark, Captain America, Miles Morales, Deadpool, Wolverine, and then an anniversary collector set, which is $1,100. So,
Wow.
if you want to invest and make your arm worth $1,000, there you go.
Huh.
But be careful, someone may have a katana and decide to steal your watch by slicing your arm off. Although, like I said, they are pretty, but they're pretty, to me, they're pretty expensive.
Pretty expensive, yeah.
Ba-dum-bum.
Cool.
Cool. I have a couple items from the WTF file.
Oh boy.
What the hell?
You mean my life? Which incident are we talking?
In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Jamie Lee Curtis, who was there to promote the upcoming Susan Powers documentary that she's helped produce, she was asked about possibly going back to the Halloween franchise.
Oh, God.
And her answer was, and I quote, "If I learned anything in my 65 years on the planet is never say never."
Thank you, James Bond.
Well, you know the story behind that, right?
What
No.
didn't she say before this last set she wasn't going to do it again?
Well, this was supposedly her swan song, yeah, but I just can't imagine her. Well, I mean, if she does, she can't do it as Lori.
Right.
Because, I mean, we're talking about Laurie Strode being in her 70s or 80s and that type of stuff, being chased by a 70 or 80-year-old Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I mean, do we really want to watch that?
Nostalgia only goes so far here. I'm just,
The two of them on walkers.
Right.
There you go.
Wasn't there a Bugs Bunny cartoon like that?
Yeah.
Geriatric Bugs Bunny and geriatric Elmer Fudd.
Elmer Fudd, yeah.
I think they had walkers at one point in that.
I think they did. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm still tripping out over the Susan Powers thing. Are we talking about the Stop the Insanity woman?
we're talking about the
Exercise guru?
yes,
Okay.
yes, from
Huh.
the 90s, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. They're
It's
doing
a
a
while
documentary
since
on
I've
her.
heard that name.
Yep. Okay, and this next one, you think that was messed up? In an interview on StarWars.com with concept and storyboard artist Lane, I guess that's how you pronounce it, McChaig, and they were talking about episode 1, Phantom Menace, which we talked about before, being celebrating its 25th anniversary this year.
Mhm.
Apparently, at one point, George Lucas, had Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan switched. Obi-Wan was the mentor, and Qui-Gon was the Padawan. And what was going to happen was Obi-Wan was going to be killed off, and then Qui-Gon, in memory of his master, would take over the name Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, that wouldn't have been confusing at all.
There were other
Obi
things to
Qui-Gon.
clean up.
Sorry.
I mean, given how much the original story of Star Wars changed back in the day, I can imagine that weird stuff like that got fiddled with along the way, but whatever. That's not unusual.
It's not unusual.
To be loved by
anyone.
But
Mm-hmm. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean,
I'm
yeah,
sorry, that just doesn't make sense.
I agree.
Yeah, that would have definitely been confusing.
I'm glad they fixed that before they.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to sell young'uns on this. Then all of a sudden you decide you're going to come out with the original movies and really make their minds explode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw that and I was like, what the fuck?
Confused as to how that's news, but whatever.
So, alrighty. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No, I mean...
Not me.
Nothing here.
Okay. We'll move on to our regular shout-outs. First, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture for Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Definitely check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who retweet our links on Twitter. That is Podern Family. And the best way to do that is do a search, hashtag Podern Family. It's all one word. Just scroll through. Whatever catches your eye, by all means, click on that link and download that episode. We hope you have a great time listening to them. We want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. There's going to be a link in the show notes where you can check out some of their other music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to our website and go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form that you can fill out there. As was mentioned earlier, we do have a Discord is free. We do have an open invite on our homepage. Sign up for Discord is free, and the apps are free in the app stores. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussions, stuff to laugh at. We'll have activities and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to come hang out with us, there we are. Social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Twitter and Instagram, we're at Fellowship Geeks. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate the support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,